Hi guys, welcome to another G-Star Vault, the safe place for paranormal files. I'm sorry it's been so long since my last upload, but I'll explain all of that in a minute. First of all, let's get the opening titles out of the way. See you in a minute. So as always, please don't forget to like this video, and please, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe, and it would be absolutely amazing if you could share this video. And as always, please comment. However, there's a difference this week. But before I get on to that, I just want to make a bit of an apology that there's been such a gap between my last upload. And that was primarily because I actually filmed this video over a week ago. Some of it is as you see now, me talking to you, and then a good portion of the video is me commenting on top of footage. And all the footage that I filmed of me talking in front of the camera with the latest iOS update, it became corrupted as you transferred it from a PC background to a Apple background. So I did all I could to try and uncorrupt it, but I couldn't, unfortunately. And with starting a new job, I've been super busy going through my induction, and so it's taken a while until I can come back and revisit this and shoot the footage correctly. So as I said to you, this is a bit of a special episode, and what I mean by that is usually I will bring you something from the World Wide Web or something that's been picked up in the news, and I will ask your thoughts and opinions on it and whether you think it should be kept safe and put in the vault with the rest of the paranormal files, or whether it should go into oblivion. However, I'm not bringing you content in that form this week. What I'm going to be talking you through is a model that I use to investigate either UFO footage or UFO photos or stories about encounters with aliens and UFOs. It's not a very detailed model. I'm not a ufologist. I'm not an expert. I've been keenly interested in the alien phenomenon since I was in my late teens, early 20s. I've watched a lot, I've read a lot, and I've come up with this model which really helps me do the initial kind of overview about whether I feel that something needs to be investigated. But before we get into that model, and I upload the video that I shot over a week ago with me commenting on footage, before we get into that, I would just like to say for the record that here on G-Star Vault, I am a open-minded skeptic, similar to Monty, who does the Monty show with me. He's an open-minded skeptic as well. So is Ben from the 401 Files and Daniel Godwin from his channel. And I think that's probably why we've made those connections with those guys on those channels. But that doesn't necessarily mean that all the content that I bring you here on G-Star Vault or the Monty Show is something that I believe is either genuine or real. I bring it so that you can formulate your opinions, share your opinions and your comments with me here in G-Star Vault, and then together we can form a decision on whether it's worthy or whether it needs to be cast out. But I bring it to you guys for you to be able to make that opinion. I'm not bringing everything that I believe is 100% true or genuine. So I just wanted to make that really clear, because I really appreciate all the comments that everybody have done on some of the recent videos, but some people have been commenting within a way that suggests that they think that I'm an advocate for what I'm bringing to you, and that's not necessarily the case. Recently I did a video about Bigfoot, and that footage I didn't believe was 100% genuine. I just thought it was interesting and an interesting story to bring to you guys and see what you thought. So I just wanted to set that as a bit of a tone for future uploads. But anyway, let's get into it. And let me just say, what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to use my model, or I'm going to talk you through my model first of all, and then we're going to use that model against a piece of random footage that's been uploaded by a member of the public. And then we'll use the model against some of the footage that has recently been confirmed by the Pentagon and been shared across the world and created a bit of a buzz. So we'll use the model in both those kind of situations. So anyway, let's relax, sit back, enjoy this video. I'll check you guys out next time. And don't forget, remember, please like this video and subscribe. So it's probably best that I start off with by telling you the anagram that I have for the model that I use, which is A.C.A.R.T. The first A is probably the most obvious one, and it's aerial phenomenon. Although this one seems obvious, it does actually cover a lot of content. So you've got things like aeroplanes and aircraft, helicopters, hot air balloons is another one, and then you've got other things that we see in the sky that aren't aircraft, so like lanterns and birds is quite a very common one, and then you've got things like satellites. Like in this picture, this is a Starlink satellite, and then you've got cosmic anomalies like shooting stars and comets. All these things can be mistaken identity. So here's a really good example of the first A in action aerial phenomenon, and this is from a site called Only Real UFOs, and this video was entitled Fleet of UFOs over Texas. Now, besides the fact that there's only two, so really it's not a fleet, these definitely look like lanterns to me, especially the speed at which they're moving, caught in a gust of wind, perhaps. So instantly I would cast this video out because it's already got a cross, not a tick, next to the first A. So the next point of consideration and the next letter in the anagram is C for CGI. So what we're talking about here is there incorrect shadows, processing in the image that's obvious, obvious mistextures or difference of texture in the photograph or the video footage. Now, you don't need to be an expert to be able to pick out most CGI. Most of us can do it if we just take the time to look. It's the more trickier stuff that's done by experts, but most of what is out there is not done by experts, it's done by amateurs. Be mindful though, because some of the more tricky CGI is actually the CGI that's dumbed down, but I've got an example of that to go through later. Okay, so the third point of consideration in the second A is for audio. So this consideration is all about whether there's any accompanying noise in terms of noise of the object or the craft. Is there any vocal audio, people commenting, saying, how are they reacting, does their reaction seem genuine? Has sound or music being dubbed over the top? This is always a really bad sign that someone's trying to be hidden from the audio. So all of these things are the things to look out for under the audio section. So our fourth point of investigation and our fourth letter is R, which stands for reaction. So this point really is about whether there's something in the environment that's reacting to the object or the objects. So whether that's in a report that you hear that, or you can see that in footage or in a photograph. So for example, is there clouds reacting to the object? Are there multiple witnesses and they're all reacting in the same way, which offers a great deal of credibility? Are there military being called and assigned and caught in the environment photographed with the object that are reacting to the incident? There's been many cases where there's been multiple mass observations, like in 1952 in Washington, thousands of people saw the same orb lights traveling over the skyline of Washington. And there's another example of a situation in Zimbabwe where a school full of children all saw the same object outside of their school. There wasn't anything captured of this. This was just a story relayed, and some of the children were interviewed, but there wasn't any video footage or photograph. But it still offers a great deal of credibility when you've got multiple or mass witnesses. Reaction, the fourth point, really needs to be worked really well with the second point, C for CGI, because just because something in the environment is reacting doesn't mean that it can't be something created by CGI, but this is more usually the case done by experts, and that's how you can tell the difference between amateurs and experts, but still something to watch out for. So before we get on to putting this model into action, the last one in A.C.A.R.T is the T, which stands for time and location. Now, of all the 5 considerations, this is the one where if you don't have time and location and any details, it doesn't mean that necessarily you need to dismiss the footage, the content, or the story. And that can be because sometimes people want to be anonymous, because either they don't want the attention or they don't want the ridicule if they are associated with the UFO phenomenon. For those that would go deep with their investigation, though, these kind of details, time, location, those people involved and names are very important, because in the past these details have been used to debunk certain reports or cases or content where the information that's being given by the people involved, just like in a court case, just doesn't add up and doesn't relate to what you're seeing on the photograph or the footage. So that's why it's really important. But it also shows more openness, more disclosure if the person that is sharing the content is willing to share those kind of details. Okay, so let's put A.C.A.R.T into action then. As I said earlier, I'm going to share a piece of footage shared by a member of the public with sound and everything as it comes. It's a bit strange, the sound, but let's watch the footage first. Okay, so let's consider the first A then, aerial phenomenon. Could it be something else? Could it be a drone? Could it be a satellite? Could it be a plane? I don't think it's a plane, but I can't dismiss the possibility that it's a drone or that it's actually a satellite. I mean, for sure, we can discount helicopter, we can discount bird, I think, because it's too white for the distance that it's away and there's no wing definition. So there's a lot of things that can be discounted, but I can't put a full tick next to aerial phenomenon, unfortunately. Okay, so we go on to that second consideration in CGI, and I definitely don't think that this is CGI. On a couple of occasions, and it'll come up later in one of the other considerations, but you can see it reacting with the clouds, going behind the clouds on several occasions. And I just don't think that if somebody was going to hoax this on a CGI, that it's at all strong enough, and it looks too natural acting to be CGI. So now we get on to the audio, and I found the audio for this one very, very strange. I mean, it It sounds like somebody's granddad going for a wee, and I actually thought it was dubbed over the recording at first until I heard later in the recording you can hear wind blowing. But there's just something about the audio that doesn't add up to me. The person who's filming is not talking, they're not relaying what they're seeing, and if I was convinced that I was seeing a alien craft at this point, I would probably be saying a lot more than just letting the tap run. So unfortunately on this one for audio, it's a cross for me. So far we've got a cross for aerial phenomenon, we've got a tick for CGI, but we've got a cross for audio. And now we need to talk about reaction. So I mentioned earlier about how the object was reacting with the clouds in this footage and seems to go in and out behind the clouds. But what I also find interesting in terms of reaction in this video is the actual person who's taking the footage. They originally see the object on one side of the building and pan their camera, assuming that they're going to see it come out the other side where they lose visibility of it behind the clouds. And that just doesn't actually happen, and that offers quite a bit of credibility. The reason why I say that is because the person is reacting to the object in their environment. If this was a hoax, they could have easily filmed the footage and put the object on the footage afterwards. But if you were going to go to that effort, would you not have shown the object on the other side of the house as well, if that's where you had directed your camera? So that's why it seems credible. Sometimes we have to remember that UFO stands for unidentified flying object, and at the moment, this still is what that is. And lastly, we come to time and location. I can tell you that this was shot on May 13th of 2021 in Lucena, Cordoba in Spain. So there is a location and a time for this one. Beyond that, there's no further details. The user has just uploaded the image and said in Spanish, I believe, asking people for their opinion. Doesn't lay any claim to what it is, which again, I think that gives it some credibility, and the fact that they've shared the time, date and location is all very relevant. Before I sign off on this footage, which actually scored 3 ticks out of 5, I believe, 1 for reaction, 1 for time and location, and 1 for CGI or not being CGI. But I just wanted to show you some freeze frames of the object, some closer in images, just for you to get a look. Okay, so now we're going to try and apply the A.C.A.R.T model to some of the Pentagon released and confirmed footage. So I'm going to approach this footage from a point of view as if I hadn't heard any of the information in the news, on social media, and all the information that's been shared. I'm just going to analyze it from a footage point of view. So I think we can confidently say in the A.C.A.R.T model that a tick can go next to A, the second A, and then the R and the T, and I'll explain why. Because when you're watching the footage, you can clearly see that it's not a plane, it's not a aerial vehicle that we would be used to. We can see from the footage the speed that the object is going, so we know it's not a drone. We see the object across the ocean floor, so we know it's not a cosmic anomaly in terms of where we were saying earlier, shooting star or a satellite. So it's pretty much getting a strong tick under the aerial phenomenon category. If you listen to the raw footage, you can hear the military personnel talking on it and communicating with one another, so that clearly ticks the second A in A.C.A.R.T. And then the fact that they're reacting to what they're seeing, and the fact that they're military and they're there and responding and reacting to it, that definitely ticks reaction. And we certainly have a time and location. Unfortunately, the only tick in the A.C.A.R.T model that I can't give this footage is the CGI. We were talking earlier on about how CGI can be dumbed down, and just because this footage is meant to come from military sources doesn't mean that it is, or that it has. I mean, you know, because it's come from military sources doesn't mean that they can't fakes and hoax if it's part of an agenda. I know that sounds a bit conspiracy theory, but let me give you an example of what I'm talking about, that dumbed down CGI. If we take a bit of the footage that we were looking at earlier and I play with it a bit, bear in mind I'm no expert, so this is just amateur dumbed down, but this is the footage from earlier.
This is Eagle 1 Base Camp. Are you guys getting this too over? It's moving at a hell of a speed. Are you guys getting this as well? Over?
So using the A.C.A.R.T model on the Pentagon footage doesn't even give it a full house. I couldn't give it the tick for the C for the CGI. But that is based on me if I was just looking at it from a footage point of view, which I would be for any other footage. So that pretty much covers our A.C.A.R.T model, guys. Let me know, guys, in comments what you think of the A.C.A.R.T model, if you think I've missed anything, anything that you would add to it. That would be amazing. And all that remains for me to say is, and I will check you out next time here on G-Star's Vault, the safe place for paranormal evidence. See you next time, guys.